Let me ask you. So Adam Silver, moving into NBA, Adam Silver, the NBA in general, they're trying to figure out how to get around what I guess would be called player tampering. I mean, this recruiting that everybody's doing. I think teams are getting a little bit more spooked these days of like the super team stuff about how Paul George and Anthony Davis kind of called their shot and got traded to the team they wanted to be traded to. Not that, I mean, it also happened to be pretty good deals for the teams that actually traded them, so they kind of lucked out in that.
Right.
But like, what do you think, man? Like, I don't think this is policeable, really. But I mean, what are your thoughts on the situation? And would you change anything with the NBA? Because I know you're pro mobility.
Yeah, it's not policeable, but it's really hard to. I'm trying to think. 5-10 years down the line. Do we start losing some franchises? Because if players are, pretty much just doing whatever they want and, signing 4 or 5 year deals and then wanting out after 2, that's a problem. So I feel like they're going to have to do something, to help some of these smaller teams and some of these other teams that are, even if they get lucky enough to draft a guy or, acquire a guy, in a trade that still has a couple years left on his deal. And then, and the guy's like automatically like, well, I don't want to play. Like it just puts these teams in a, you're always going to have a market in some areas, but some of these other ones, I feel like it's just going to be harder and harder for them to build a franchise. Because we do hear like guys don't need to go to big markets, for endorsements and stuff like that. Yet most of the time they do end up playing for a larger market, because whether it be, whether it be, how their family's going to live, whatever. A lot of these guys are just calling their own shots, and it's really hard for the owners because they've tried to incentivize them to stay with these like super max deals, but these guys are kind of like,
they're making so much money. They're just like,
yeah, they're making so much that like when they can kind of sniff up at another 50 million, it's like, that's crazy. Yeah. But I feel like you gotta do something. I just don't know if they're going to start making players do buyouts, where, yeah, if you want to get out of this, that's fine. You need to give the team back a certain amount of money, or your new team needs to pay money towards
that.
The other team.
I was just thinking that. So like off the top of my head, yeah, maybe. So like, let's just. I know it's more than this, but let's just say the max is like, your max is like 5 years, 100 mil. And again, I know it's way more than that, but let's just keep the numbers like safe. So that's 20 mil a year. Maybe it's a situation where if you force your way into a trade, the new team basically, maybe the new team like loses its cap if they're the team that takes you or something like that. Like there's got to be some kind of disincentive for it. And I think like I'm thinking about the NFL, and I think there's a couple of reasons that you don't see that happen too much in the NFL. One of which is the cap situation, because like if you sign a guy, so again, Michael Thomas signed a 5-year, $100 million contract this week with $61 million guaranteed. Well, if Mike Thomas next year is like, hey, screw it, I want to be traded. Well, that $61 million guaranteed. Depending on how this, let's just say it's like a $50 million signing bonus, which it's not, but let's say it is. All that money would be accelerated. So the Saints literally would not be able to, based on the rules, would not be able to trade him because they would go over the cap, or, it would just completely, kill them. That's why, like, the Antonio Brown trade, I was a little surprised that it happened because of the way his contract was for the Steelers. They actually had to have a lot of that money up there, but they were able to take the hit. So maybe it's a situation where if they sign the deal, the Supermax deal or whatever it is, like maybe not like a buyout, but maybe they're automatic. They're like salary automatically dips, like if they've elected to seek a trade publicly or something like that.
Right, and I don't know if the Players Association is going to agree on that, and that's where you're going to get into a thing, but I mean, they got to do something. I mean,
or maybe the new team has to pay a luxury tax.
If you sign a contract and you breach any other contract in life, you breach your cell phone contract, you breach your apartment contract, you breach your car lease. Like, if you breach any of those things, there's usually a penalty that you have to pay. And sometimes the penalty is kind of like, I really don't want to deal with that. Like, I'd much rather just stick it out, or the penalty's so bad where you're just like, it's not even an option. I'm just going to stay in what I'm in until it's time for me to get out of it. So I feel like if it's not down to the last year, like, and I get it, they can trade you whenever they want, but you're still going to get your full amount. They have to have something where they can, and that's maybe where you reach some kind of language there. Like, if a guy signs for a 5-year deal, he's untradeable for, 2.5 or 3 years. So you do something like that too. So it's kind of, all right, we're going to look out for the players here, so they don't need to worry about, moving around as much. But, we got to do something.
I got the perfect solution for you. You ready for this?
What's that?
It's perfect. So the NFL, I think they still have it, but they definitely used to have this thing where basically, money would go into a pot to the NFL. And players that significantly outperformed their contracts, usually guys that were on rookie contracts or 1-year deals or something like that had huge years, they would get money from this pot just into their pocket. It's like a bonus check, basically, to give money to these guys that just should have been making more. It's kind of like a retroactive bonus. So what the NBA could do, let's just, again, take the Anthony Davis situation where he had publicly declared for a trade. He asked the team, let's just say, Davis's people asked for a trade. So the Pelicans could then file and basically say, hey, look, Davis has asked for a trade. Here we go. And so then let's see the Lakers trade for him. Well, when the Lakers acquire Anthony Davis, Davis doesn't make less money. He makes the same amount of money. The Lakers don't lose salary cap space, but Davis's contract would immediately be subject to the luxury tax in the NBA, right? So whatever he's making, all the millions, that money would be susceptible to the luxury tax. Whether or not it actually pushes the Lakers into luxury tax, they would have to pay a luxury tax on that money, and then that money goes into a fund for the NBA to pay these lower tier guys that are really getting screwed by this, superstar team culture. So I think it would work from the Players Association point of view because they're getting money for their players, actually more money, because the Lakers are actually putting more money into the pot over the cap that could then go into a bonus system for these guys that deserve more money. There you go. That's the solution.
Yeah, and it's just hard because, like you see a Zion get picked and, if he plays well, like, he's not going to be there in 5 years.
Yeah, even though he said he has, but I get it. Yeah,
right.
He's
but
not.
I mean, things change, man, and we're used to the thing where a guy gets drafted and he's at least there, 6-7 years, to really start to make a change, and Zion could really leave after 3. And there's no. I mean, yeah, he could sign that max after or whatever, but it's. It's just, I think it puts the teams in a tough position, and, it'll be interesting to see what happens with some of these contracts, because I don't know if the TV contract the next time around is going to be for what it was this time, because I know some of the ratings are down and stuff. So, be interesting to see if it levels out a little bit, now that, these guys have been getting paid like crazy the past couple of years.
We'll see. Well, I mean, the NBA is going to be wide open this year. I think that's going to be good for ratings. So we'll see. Hopefully it works out.
I think it's going to be a great year for the NBA.
This and the NFL, man. Brad and I are talking.
Man. It's going to be a really good major sports year.